5 days away from a Monday night showdown in Philadelphia with the undefeated Eagles. What's it going to take to hand them their first loss? How do the Commanders contain Jalen Hurts and their air attack? London Fletcher and Logan Paulsen are here to break that all down. And speaking of breaking it down, the guys are going to take you inside the film room to dissect what drives our rushing attack and how a couple of small tweaks might be able to make it more productive. And we'll catch up with second-year defensive back Benjamin St-Juste, coming off one of the most impressive performances of his young career after going one-on-one with Justin Jefferson. It's all coming your way on Command Center right now. Hey there, welcome into Command Center. I'm Bram Weinstein in for Julie Donaldson with London Fletcher and Logan Paulsen. It's a tough one to move on from, huh?
It is, but, you know, the show must go on and the season's going to continue.
Yeah, and they're playing an 8-0 team, and the show has been going on every single week for them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is part of the NFL, man. And if you look at the NFL right now, there is so much parity. Everyone can beat anybody. The Bills lost to the Jets last week. There is an opportunity to get this done. Let's see if we can make it happen.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
There's a chance.
Commanders heading out to Philadelphia. Here we go to take on the 8-0 Eagles on Monday Night Football. They're coming off a win last Thursday night over the Texans, so extra time to get prepared for this one on their end. Of course, this will be the second meeting of the season between these two teams. The Eagles got the best of the Commanders at FedEx Field Week 3 in the first matchup. Here's a look at the numbers from the game back on September 25th. Let's flash back to Week 3. Philadelphia outgained Washington. They put up 400 total yards. They put 24 points up in the first half. They had no turnovers, and they cruised to a 24-8 win. I think all of us kind of agreed in the summer that the Eagles are probably the team to beat in the NFC East. 8-0 might be a little ahead of where anybody thought they would be. What's been the key to their success?
I think the key has been really the play of Jalen Hurts. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles coming into the season, Jalen Hurts was still a question mark. But the way he's played, the way he's matured as a quarterback, you look at the completion percentage, nearly 70% completions, but also his ability to make plays off schedule.
Yeah.
And the offense is tailor-made for his skill set. They really put you in a bind defensively on what you're going to do and how you're going to defend this offense, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Jalen Hurts has been a huge factor for them, but I think the thing that separates this team from every other team in the NFL and every other team in the division is their ability to beat you in multiple ways. When they have to run the football, they can run the football. If they need to win with defense, they can win with defense. If they need a big play, they can throw the football downfield to A.J. Brown and all their explosive playmakers. I think that multifactorial skill set makes them a super dangerous team and makes them the class of the NFL at the moment.
You think their offense, though, has changed since we saw them in Week 3, right?
I do. I think it's changed a little bit. Kind of to Fletcher's point, I think they've found a way to really speak to what Jalen Hurts does well. They do a ton of RPO stuff. They find ways to get him touches that he can kind of maximize, right? Short, intermediate passing game, using the run game, using his legs, all that stuff is excellent.
And what they do a great job of is on first and second down, they get a lot of positive plays.
Yes.
And they're in a lot of third and shorts, 3rd and 3 or less.
Yeah.
And when they run that RPO, they have a situation where Jalen Hurts has 3 different options. He can hand it off to the running back, he can throw it to the flat, or he can keep it and run it himself. And as a defense, it's hard for you to defend all 3 facets of those on the play, especially when it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 type situations.
They get all of the publicity. Their defense has been very good.
Yes.
It's ranked in the top 3, just as they've gotten A.J. Brown really right on the offensive end. The addition of James Bradbury's worked out. They just picked up Robert Quinn. Their defense is for real, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think really the thing that separates them from other defenses in the division in the NFL is they have 2 excellent cover corners and a pass rusher that can support them. They just seem to be very married at the moment in terms of rush and coverage, and that makes an excellent defense.
And the thing that defense does is take the football away. They're the number 1 in the National Football League. They're plus 15 in a turnover margin. They take it away and they don't turn the football over. That's the reason also that they're 8-0.
So what are we going to do? How does Washington get some offense? Because scoring points has been not coming at a premium for this team.
Protect the football in some way, somehow, figure out a way for us to create some takeaways, things like that. We've been able to create takeaways during the 3-game winning streak. We were getting takeaways. We have to protect the football, protect the quarterback. We can't allow Taylor Heineke to get sacked like Carson did the first time we played the Eagles.
I think a huge variable is getting more efficient in the run game. And Fletcher and I are going to talk about this later in the show, but tweaking some of that stuff to put you in a better position so Taylor doesn't have to carry the whole thing, get some plays from your defense, and you never know how that football falls.
Yep, it was a razor's edge again. Didn't go their way this past Sunday, but there were a lot of positive takeaways as they took a 7-1 team right down to the wire and lost just the last moment. So let's get another take from another Commanders legend. Here's Santana Moss.
I think the biggest positive from the loss last week, coming into the game, the question was, can Washington compete with some of the elite, teams in this league? And I think you can put, from the way they've been playing this year, Minnesota has the outright, argument of saying that they one of the elite teams. The only team that has beaten them this year was the Eagles. And that was the biggest question. Can they play with them? I think they checked that box. They played with them guys the entire game. It was one miscue that kind of led to the landslide. So to me, that's my biggest positive, and I think they all can kind of rest assured to know that, hey, we can compete on this level because we have the guys here. We just got to go out and execute.
Thanks, Santana. One of the bright spots for Washington's offense this year has been the rushing attack, featuring Antonio Gibson and the rookie Brian Robinson. Gibson leads all Washington rushers with over 300 rush yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. Robinson Jr. adds over 200 rush yards and a touchdown through 5 games played. For more on the rushing attack, let's send it over to Logan and London inside the film room, presented by Amino. It pays to be healthy.
Bram, thanks so much. And man, I feel honored today to have the legend London Fletcher himself here for the Wednesday breakdown. Fletch, I'm super excited to get your insight. I've been getting a ton of questions, Fletch, about the run game and why it's not being super effective. So let's take a look at a couple plays and see if we can answer that question.
All right,
real quick.
let's do it.
So first things first, Fletch, is there. To me, running the football is just a numbers game, right? They've got 6 defenders in the box. We have 7 people who can carry the ball or block, right? To me, this is an offensive advantage,
Yes,
right?
you have more blockers than we have defenders.
And you said something to me earlier off air that so one of these guys has to two gap now.
Yeah, so one of these linebackers, let's see, clear this. One of these linebackers is going to have to 2 gap, and which one? It all depends on what type of run it is.
Right, and again, that's good play design. They're not maybe matching Curtis Samuels in the appropriate way, who knows? But you get really good double teams, and you also get really good angles, Fletch. And that's something that I think is great about this, is you're putting your offensive linemen in a good position to be successful. And talk about that. Like, if you're out leveraged on a double team, that makes it tough as a defender.
Yeah, and what I love is with the double team, it allows the offensive line to get movement on the defensive line as opposed to just single blocks. When you got 2-on-1s, you should get movement, and then you work your way up to the linebacker on the second level, and that's how you get gashes in the run game.
Absolutely, and even this little thing by Gibson here, pulling this guy out affects this linebacker and helps the double team even more, and it lets Curtis Samuel walk off.
Forces him to 2 gap.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Walk off for a huge gain. And you love that kind of play design. You love that kind of nuance. You love the targeting. Here they get the same thing, right? Before the motion comes, they've got a nice light box, right? Love it. But with the motion, they add a player in. That's okay. You still have a numbers advantage, Fletch, which is, again, that's the core of running the football. Can you get a numbers advantage? So great job by Scott finding a way to get that numbers advantage. The thing I think that falls down is they mistarget these double teams. Instead of taking these double teams, this first double team here, all the way back to this player here, they take it vertical, and it makes it really tough for these guys to be successful in terms of executing, right? You see how they're out leveraged there, Fletch? Like, that's tough.
Can you bring this back?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And what I would like to see is this guy doubling down to back here.
Absolutely.
And leaving this guy for that linebacker.
Yes, right.
And that's how you get windows. You double here, back.
Yep.
And that's how you get gas.
I love what you said there. You want to double team back, Fletch. You want to let these guys sit on this. Let the big nasties mollywop this all the way back to there, right?
Actually, I was wrong. He's going to be the guy that goes out. He's
going to kick out, right?
Yeah, he's going to kick out.
But you want him to sit on those double teams. You want to give him good angles, because if you don't give him good angles, like, look at this, Fletch. Like, if you're a defensive player and I'm in this relationship to the blocker, I feel like I'm winning the down, and that's just on pre-snap alignment.
Absolutely. If he just imagine if he was here doubling up, we got here, then we got something, because we have him leading up. He has nobody to block.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we don't have as successful a run play as we could have.
Because it forces the back to go lateral. Everyone's got a gap. No one's stressed out here. And that's just a simple execution targeting thing that could make this run so much more effective. This is another one. I think, a big part of this offense is RPO. They're going to read this guy here. If he triggers at all towards the run, Fletch, they got to pull the ball. They got to pull the ball and throw it to Logan Thomas, who's going to have a nice opportunity here with a blocker in front to execute here. But again, a little bit of a mixed execution here.
Quarterback,
Yes.
Mitchell is reading this guy.
Yeah.
So Taylor is reading him. If he triggers, like he said,
Yeah.
then he should be throwing that football
To Logan. Yes, right. But he doesn't. He doesn't pull it out. And I think when you look at this from the wide, you see how effective this play could be. Look at Logan in the flat there.
Yes.
There's no one around him here, right? And then when you look at the end zone here, you see how this affects the back. There's no cutback. Because, again, you're short numbers, right? They have 6 defenders. You have 5 blockers. This guy needs to be accounted for by the quarterback, like you mentioned. He's not. It leads to a tough situation because the back.
And we talk about trigger.
Yeah.
That's the trigger. Once he triggers, Taylor should be throwing that football out there
Yes.
to Logan.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's not that they can't do it, Fletch, because we've seen them run it effectively. On this very next play, they execute it perfectly, and you see what it does, right? They get the motion here, they pause it, they got their 3 offensive players here. They end up with 4 coverage guys over top. This is good numbers advantage because that means you have less people supporting the run. The player you're reading is right here. He is fully committed to the pass. Taylor does an excellent job of seeing that, hands the football off, and Gibson does what Gibson does best and ends up with a 9-yard run.
He does a great job, and we can see the offensive line also does a great job of double team blocks, and you see these guys.
Yeah.
Double teaming.
Mashing. Get out of here.
Getting up.
Go to angles, yes.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see.
And it puts them in good situations. So obviously, Fletch, there are some things that could be improved on, but I think the scheme is there. It's just about whether they can execute it and make those plays. And I want to see them executed against Philly. Super excited to check that out this week.
Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Logan and London are heading out to the practice field to catch up with Benjamin St-Juste, who stood out matching up with Viking star Justin Jefferson. And a little later, I'll join them on the practice field as they demonstrate what makes the Philly passing attack so dangerous and how the Commanders can defend it. Keep it here. Welcome back to Command Center. Second-year defensive back Benjamin St-Juste had one of the best games of his career in the loss to the Vikings on Sunday. He was going one-on-one with Minnesota's biggest receiving threat, Justin Jefferson, and he nearly had his first pick six, too. Was called back due to a defensive pass interference call. It was one of the first major tests of the second-year cornerback Benjamin St-Juste, taking on a receiver who's not only among the top 5 in leading receivers in the NFL this year, but is on pace to put up some of the most prolific numbers by any receiver ever in the first 3 years of their career. So it was a good test for St-Juste, and it was one that he spoke about with London and Logan out on the practice field.
Here with Benjamin St-Juste, the guy who's kind of made a name for himself the past couple of weeks guarding number 1 wide receivers. Can you talk to me about your process in getting ready for guys like Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown?
I mean, honestly, it's first of all, it's an honor to be in a position to guard those guys, you know, and having the confidence and from the coaches to put me in that type of situation. So, but honestly, like when you guard those type of guys, it starts in a film study throughout the whole week in your preparation. So you got to pay attention to all the little details. So, you know, how they release in like an off coverage, how they release in press coverage, how they block, what's their favorite route concept. And honestly, like, you know, when it gets to the game and it gets in crunch time situation, you know the ball is going to that guy. So, like, you know, what's your thought process? What's your technique that you're going to use? So you got to think about all that stuff. So, but I like it. You know, it brings the best out of me every matchup.
And so some of the things that I like about your game is you seem to be hyper aggressive with these guys and also really excellent with your feet. And you say you're using your film study to kind of match that. Mm-hmm. Anything specifically that shows up in that film study that against Justin Jefferson, for example, that you're like, oh, this is something I can use in this week? Yeah,
so I would say like when I look at how their releases and all that stuff, I saw that he used a lot of like usually 3 moves, like usually on his third cut, like that's where he makes his move, that's where he starts his route or whatever. So I didn't want to give him the time to even do that. So that's why I lined up like pretty close to him, and I gave him like a few motor steps just to make him think that I was going to go back, and then as soon as he makes his cut, and then just jam him as aggressive as I can.
So with a guy like A.J. Brown, much different skill set. Does the preparation change? I know you got a lot of RPO stuff in Philadelphia, a lot of different responsibilities. Does it change, and is that something that again you can get to through film study?
Yeah, like, you know, A.J. Brown and Justin or even Devonta Smith, they all have different skill sets. You know, like some of them are faster, some of them are quicker, some are bigger, you know. So it's going to be different routes that they're going to attack us with you know, with their different types of bodies that they have. You know, AJ's not going to run the same routes as Devonta, and he's not going to release the same way, and he's not going to block the same way. So, you know, every time that you go against a different receiver, like every time I'm going to go against them on Monday, I kind of have to go through that thought process before the play. So I'm like, okay, this is my technique, this is my toolbox. That's what I'm going to use against this guy, and that's what I'm going to use against this guy. So.
Man, that was so fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck this week on Monday.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Here's a look at the numbers that St-Juste has put up so far this season. He's had 31 total tackles in his first 9 games of the year, surpassing the 25 he had in 9 games last year. He's especially been looking good in his passes defensed, with 6 in the season so far. When we come back, we're all heading out to the practice field where London and Logan will be showing us what Washington will be up against on Monday night when they face the Eagles and their passing attack. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to Command Center. This season we're celebrating 90 with Dominion National, and we're flashing back to November 10th, 1991. Washington quarterback Mark Rypien ties the franchise single-game record for touchdown passes with 6 in a 56-17 rout of the Atlanta Falcons. Rypien is one of 2 Washington quarterbacks to throw for 6 touchdowns in a game. The other is Slingin' Sammy Baugh, who did it twice, once in 1943 against the Brooklyn Dodgers, and again in 1947 against the Chicago Cardinals. That's an offensive performance to remember. We could use a few more points this week against undefeated Philadelphia, but out here on the practice field, we're going to focus in on the defensive side of the ball here as they get set to face a top 3 offense. And Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown and company up in Philadelphia. Logan and London are out on the practice field. We're going to talk about one of the integral parts of the Commanders' defense, quarters coverage. This is our Field Pass, presented by FedEx, where now meets next.
So excited to be here with the man, the myth, the legend, London Fletcher himself, to talk about quarters coverage, which this team runs a lot of, and why it puts this linebacker in a tough spot. So Fletch, let's talk about that real quick. Hit me with it.
Yeah, it could be a linebacker, Logan. Also could be a nickel back, depending on the formation, things like that. Let's just assume, for the sake of this teaching tape, it's a linebacker. You know, maybe it's Jamin Davis, it's Cole Holcomb, whatever the case may be. It could be Cam Curl when he plays the nickel linebacker. As a quarters coverage linebacker or nickel, you're responsible for taking number 2 on any in-breaking routes up to, let's call it 10 yards.
Okay.
So first thing you want to do is from an alignment standpoint. I'm on line probably 5 yards off, but inside leverage of you. We hear Coach Rivera talk a lot about playing to your leverage. Leverage. Quarters coverage as an inside defender, number 2 defender, you want to stay inside leverage.
And why is that, Fletch? Because if I get you squared up,
if you get me squared
inside, is there anybody in here?
There's nobody here to help me. There's nobody here to help me on that.
And where is your help?
My help is as you get past 10 yards. So let's say you go vertical, Logan.
Who is it? Anna, put your hand up.
I'm going to carry you up to about 10 yards inside leverage. Then I'm going to pass you to my strong safety. And then I'm going to square up.
And so you are basically trying to force me to your help.
Trying to force you to my help. As a quarters defender, let's say you come up and you break on a 5-yard out route. So I'm here, inside leverage, you break out, I'm gonna stay with you.
Because this guy, Joey run off. If Joey runs vertical, there's nobody out here.
There's nobody out there. Bram is gone with him in quarters coverage. I gotta take that out breaking route. One thing that they love to do, call it a jerk route, pivot route.
Looky choice.
So Logan, one thing they like to do is run that looky choice. And I'm gonna be that linebacker or the nickel back, whatever. Logan's gonna run that looky choice, and I'm coming up. And
I thought I had him.
But I gotta stay inside. The thing that they really try to do, they try to isolate. A lot of times they'll put their best receiver
here. I think CeeDee Lamb against Dallas.
CeeDee Lamb.
They're trying to get this matchup as much as they
can.
Justin
Jefferson. Who we just played, the Minnesota Vikings. He comes up and they'll run up and he'll run. He'll do that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I had that.
All right, I didn't know you had it.
The tough one is when you come up and you run that, probably let's call it an 8-yard out route, or 8 to 10 yards corner route. And that puts,
why is that tough, Fletch?
it's tough because
Run a vertical, Joey.
Joey runs a vertical route.
Yep.
And I'm carrying him, and he goes about 8 yards out or 10 yards out. And this safety may not know if I don't take him and the safety doesn't take him,
Yeah.
he's wide open.
And again, that's one of the things about zone coverage that's so tough is you got to be on the same page with these two other people and see the concept the same way.
The great thing about quarters, if you do it right and everybody understands their job, in an ideal world, Logan comes up the field and he's breaking out at 10 yards and Joey's running a post route. Joey, run that post route. I stay with him there. It allows Anna, our safety, and Bram to double number one on that post route. And that's the great thing about quarters coverage. It gives you options on how to defend the vertical passing game. Here's the basic route.
The basic, your favorite.
Let's run the basic.
Yeah. So basic's a 10-yard in. Here.
Again, quarters, I'm playing to my leverage. Now, I should take this basic route, and that again allows our strong safety, Anna, to double number one with Bram.
So basically, in a nutshell, any vertical passing game, it allows you to get double teams, but it stresses you underneath because there's more emphasis on the vertical coverage.
It stresses you underneath, especially depending on who they have in number two.
Right.
If it's again, CeeDee Lamb,
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, it could be Devonta Smith.
Right.
You know, these number one receivers for these different teams, and whether it's a nickelback or in our case, a lot of times it may be the linebacker having to check this guy. It puts a lot of stress on you, but as long as you play to your leverage, which Coach Rivera always talks about, this will be a great coverage for us. All right, thanks.
All right, great job, guys. Thank you. Looking for an upgrade in pay as a cornerback. Thank you very much. Getting set for the Eagles on Monday night. Thanks so much for joining us here on Command Center.
What's up?